Hello, and welcome to this video on how to write a summary. In this video, we will write a summary based on what we learned about robot teachers in our Stop and Think Note-Taking video. Remember? Let's quickly go over what we did there. In that video, we read the text while asking ourselves 3 questions. First, what's the text about? This helped us find the topic. Second, what is the author saying about the topic? Here we focus on understanding the main idea. Third, what important information does the author use to support the main idea? In answering this question, we begin to understand the important supporting information. It may be helpful to re-watch our video on Stop and Think Note-Taking for reading to better remember the notes that we took there. So now that we have our notes, what's next? That's what this video is all about. The next stage is to use our notes in order to summarize the text. A summary should be well structured and well organized so that you can better remember what the text is about. This will help you better use the text for whatever purpose you may have. Begin with a brief introduction that states the topic and the main idea. Then, support the main idea. This will be your supporting information. Remember, you're trying to summarize the author's point of view, so avoid adding your own opinions. Also, be concise. A summary should be a condensed version of the original text. It should be short, but not too short. Have just enough supporting evidence to give the reader a good understanding of what the author of the text wrote. What are the important steps in writing a summary? Let's go over them together. 1. Organize the information. Organize the main points in logical order. In a history text, this might be chronologically. For a science text, this might be the steps of an experiment, according to the importance and logical order for each text. 2. Write the summary. Using the main points that you've organized from your notes, write the summary. In your own words, state the topic and the main idea. Then continue with laying out the supporting information from the text in a way that makes sense to you. And last but not least, review. Reread your summary to make sure it says what you want it to say. In other words, it should accurately represent what the author wrote. This is your opportunity to make corrections or revisions if needed before you submit it. Check your grammar, spelling, and punctuation errors. You can use the different tools that are out there, like Grammarly. So, let's get started. But before we do, just something to point out. Learning how to summarize is important because it helps us understand and share information better. It helps us use information better. When we summarize, we pick out the most important points and get a clear picture of what we're reading or listening to. It also improves our critical thinking and helps us see the connections between different ideas. While AI can help, by practicing how to summarize on our own, we become better at telling the difference between what's important and what's not. This skill also helps us make our points much more clearly. We need to organize the information in our notes and decide what important information to include in the summary. And for that, we need to go over our notes. We need to focus on the most important information and make sure it's presented clearly. We need to make sure that the supporting information actually supports the main idea. Let's review the information from our notes to see the ideas we want to work with. This is what we had. Topic, robot teachers. Main idea, robot teachers can teach and help teachers. Supporting information. Robots can teach in remote areas and free up time. Robots can do some jobs, but not others, and will not completely take over the classrooms. Robots can help teachers and teach where there are no teachers. Supporting information supports the main idea. Robot teachers can teach and help teachers. How can they do that? Let's see the notes answer that question. Robots can teach in remote areas. That's one way that robots can help teach, namely teaching students where human teachers won't go. You'll notice that a very similar idea is in our third note. Robots can teach where there are no teachers. In our summary, we only need to say this idea once. Also, the third note contains a repetition of the main idea, which we do not need to include in the supporting information. Also, the first note in the supporting information has another idea. Robots can free up time for teachers. This is the second way robots can help teachers teach. So we have two basic ways robots can teach or help teachers. The middle note limits the role of robots, so they can stay helpers and not completely take over teaching. That's the kind of thinking we need in order to fully prepare ourselves to write our summary. So let's get to it. So what can we write as an introduction? We need to come up with a sentence that states our main idea, that robot teachers can teach and help teachers. We start with a broad statement that sets the stage for what's to come, and gradually we narrow in. Our main idea is robot teachers can teach and help teachers. Let's see how we can introduce that in our paragraph. Okay, all right. Robot teachers can both teach children and help teachers in a variety of ways. Now let's incorporate our supporting information. Let's tie them together with our main idea. What are the different ways robots can teach and help teachers? Let's give examples of how. I will write, they can teach in remote areas where there are no teachers. In addition, robot teachers can free up time for human teachers to focus on teaching. Okay, that explains how robots can help. Now, let's address the middle note about the limitations of robots, which relates to people's fears of robots and tries to calm them down. I will write, however, while robots have the ability to do some tasks, they still have some limitations and cannot fully replace human teachers in the classroom. Great, we have addressed the other supporting evidence and reassured that robot teachers are still here to help. Now let's write a conclusion and sum up our paragraph. The purpose of the conclusion is to restate the main idea in our words, which brings the paragraph full circle. Restating the main idea provides a sense of closure. I will write, in conclusion, robot teachers can play an important role in school education, especially where there is a shortage of teachers, but they are not a threat to human teachers. See, the conclusion is an opportunity to practice stating the same idea in other words, which can make us better writers. Okay, let's go over our summary. Robot teachers can both teach children and help teachers in a variety of ways. They can teach in remote areas where there are no teachers. In addition, robot teachers can free up time for human teachers to focus on teaching. However, while robots have the ability to do some tasks, they still have limitations and cannot fully replace human teachers in the classroom. In conclusion, robot teachers can play an important role in school education, especially where there is a shortage of teachers, but they are not a threat to human teachers. To sum up, writing a summary about robot teachers requires identifying the main idea and supporting information, deciding what details to include, using clear and concise language, structuring the summary, and avoiding personal opinions. It's important to go over what we have written and revise. Practice makes perfect. By following these steps, you can create a summary that accurately and clearly conveys the essential information. Thank you for listening, and I hope you use these stages next time you write a summary.